What's up guys, Coach Rob at Optimal Carnivore. Now, is fruit healthy? That was the title, but when I've thought about it, it's the wrong question. The question we should be asking is, how does fruit line up with our evolution? When would we have had fruit? Would it be in seasonal? Would we have had it year round? We've got to think about it from that point of view. So it's not as black and white as is it healthy or is it not? And then you've also got to look into, is this fruit the same fruit that we've cultivated now? Would that be the same sweetness and size and yield, fibre to sugar content as even 200 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 3.5 million years ago? So it's a very nuanced question. Let's break it down. Obviously, the word like fruit and vegetables, it comes with this healthy stigma label attached to it, and it sounds really healthy. So that's why you get people coming, like clients saying to me, like, oh, I eat loads of fruit and veg, or they come to me and say, like, oh, I want to start with you, but I don't like fruit and veg, so I don't think I'm going to be able to eat healthy, which is obviously a different story. But it's tarnished with this, because the food guidelines basically got created by these Seventh-day Adventists, which are like religiously vegan, vegetarian type cults almost, that fruit and veg has been given this sort of gold standard. And then you look at sort of studies, and yes, when you can find these epidemiological studies, which means they're not randomized controlled trials, they're just looking at a group, like a population, and what they do. And it's like, oh, this population eats a lot of fruit and veg, or they have healthier outcomes, which, yes, that is true, but there's something called healthy user bias. So just because one thing is happening at the same time as another one, like more murders in the summertime, and that ties in with more ice cream sales. People buying ice creams isn't making them murder people. It's just that more people are outside and for longer hours and things like that. So do you see what I mean? That's that correlation. Doesn't mean causation. So when it comes to fruit, healthy user bias, people that instinctively buy more fruit and veg, that is replacing ultra-processed crap, sugar, flour, seed oils. And they're going to wear the seatbelt, they're going to exercise, they're not going to smoke, they're not going to drink alcohol. Do you see what I mean? So the fruit and veg might not necessarily be what's making them healthy, it's just that studies show that. So we need to just have a little breakdown of why fruit is labelled with this healthy side. Yes, it is a lot better than ultra-processed crap, but this is optimal carnivore. You want to level up, climb further up that mountain towards the peak of carnivorous heaven, then fruit might just be holding you back. But to understand this, we need to break down a bit of evolution and the physiology. So I want you to see as a banana as a sugar stick. We're not going to get into too much whether a modern day banana looks like a banana that looked like a few hundred years ago, even less than that. Just Google that yourself. Just Google like modern day fruits compared to like ancient fruits. So regardless of if it had that amount of sugar and fibre and size yield, then let's just break down sugar content for this purpose. So see banana as a sugar stick. Do you know, it's all broken down. This is for carbs in general, and that's what we'll get onto. It's all broken down into its smallest components, glucose. So you eat it, goes into your stomach. Before it can be absorbed through the wall of small intestine, you got all these carbohydrates, sugar breaking down, enzymes, and it has to be broken down into glucose before it can be absorbed into your bloodstream. So whether that's a banana, a potato, some rice, doesn't matter. An orange, so see an orange as a sugar ball. It's all sugar. Yes, it's not just pure sugar. There's fibre, there's food matrices, so why it can be better than pure sugar, but the sugar component of, say, the banana, that is still the same as if you had a teaspoon of sugar. Before it all ends up in the bloodstream, it's the same thing. So knowing that is powerful. Knowledge is power. Big takeaway from this is what I want people to learn is that all carbohydrates, whether it's fruit or a potato, sweet potato, rice, whatever, you cannot argue with physiology. Like even like the strictest high carb person, anti-carnivore, vegan, whatever, will admit that all carbohydrates have to be broken down into sugar before they enter your bloodstream. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. Is fruit healthy? So we've obviously established that there's more nuance to that question. So we've looked at the physiology of fruit. Yes. So it breaks down sugar. So then people might think, well, what's the problem with that? We do have these storage mechanisms in our muscle glycogen, liver glycogen, things like that. We've got de novo lipogenesis, which can turn the sugar into fat, things like that. So evolution, what is the purpose of fruit? So let's look at how often it would be around. If you look at like anthropological research and evolution, We spent hundreds of thousands of years in ice ages. So you good luck growing a fruit or vegetable in that environment. It just doesn't happen. So let's say, okay, well, what if it did? If it's seasonal, let's treat fruit like that. So, and this really makes sense to me because it ties in with what happens physiologically. So if fruit is only available at the end of the autumn harvest for maybe a couple of weeks of the year, which you do naturally see, you walk around, there might be a few berries on the trees. Do you know, we don't have supermarkets with fruit all year round. So physiologically, we need to figure out what's going on. Why is it only available that time of the year? So this is what we're thinking is going on. It is there to prepare us for the famine of the winter. Do you know, there's going to be less animals, less food for the animals, so therefore less food for us opportunistic carnivorous humans. So if fruit's only around, you'd absolutely gorge on it. Yes, there's a tree in my garden, there's bananas hanging off it. If there were Twinkies hanging off it and donuts, we would gorge on that stuff. But it's not available all year round, and that is the whole premise and the point of this video. So what is it there for? It's there, it's like, look at a hibernating animal, like a squirrel's getting loads of nuts, or a bear, whatever it may be. We're doing the same. So it's to put body fat on for the winter. So if you look at it from that point of view, if it helps us survive, then yeah, it's healthy. But we have access to carbohydrates all day, every couple of hours, and that is why, all year, and that is why we're just gradually gaining weight, getting fatter and fatter and more obese as a not just a continent or a population, just as a planet. So it's not necessarily that fruit is unhealthy, it's just that fruit is contextual and it depends on our environment. So if it's there in our environment to fatten us up for the winter, then that's what we would do. We just wouldn't have it all year round. We want to be, so say we have 2 weeks out of 52 weeks of the year where we eat fruit and other carbohydrates, then that's going to be like 96% of our year spent in a ketogenic state. And that is mimicking our evolution, and that is why it's healthy, and that is why it works for all my clients. That's why a lot come to me in the start and they might say, oh, I'm eating tons of fruit and veg and I'm still gaining weight. Because that is the function of carbohydrates, and fruit being one of those carbohydrates. See that as their function. It's supposed to make you gain weight. And how does it do that? Made videos on this before. You're going to get blood sugar crashes. You're going to be in a roller coaster all day. And that's why you're like, oh, I've eaten, sound, a couple hours later, I'm starving all day. It's like, well, how can you be starving when you've got all this body fat? How can somebody be starving that's got tons of body fat around them? It's like, that's like filling your car up with fuel, driving down the road to your mate's house and just saying, oh, I need some fuel in my car. Like, you wouldn't keep putting it in. So you're getting blood sugar crashes. So fructose and insulin, all these things happening when you eat carbohydrates, they block your satiety hormone leptin. Leptin is basically signaling in your brain from your body fat to say you're like how full you are. So we want that nice and high to stop you eating. If that's getting blocked by insulin, which is when you eat carbs, so that is the purpose of it. You're getting blood sugar crashes, leptin. You're also getting this dopaminergic effect from all this sugar, like lights your brain up more than cocaine. It's shown. There's rat studies that show they prefer that than other things and other drugs. So, but it's physiologically there for a reason. It's meant to be healthy in that time because it's meant to make you more, gorge. Dopamine, blood sugar, leptin. You're on this roller coaster of blood sugar, leptin's been blocked, and then your dopamine's going up, then back below baseline, so then we're hungry again. So does that follow the pattern of what you're sort of seeing every day? That you can't get a control and a grasp on your hunger? You start a carnivore, low-carb, ketogenic diet, and all of a sudden, your hunger is under control. I remember when I first started, I ate like 12 eggs at 9 o'clock in the morning because I wanted to bulk like a bodybuilder. 9 o'clock at night, I was still full. I'm like, what is going on? On paper, I ain't had enough calories today. Oh, wait. Nice, steady blood sugar. Nice, steady dopamine. Leptin, nice and high, satiety. I'll stop rambling and have you thinking, what have I done to this? I've had an ulnar nerve transposition surgery. So yeah, basically that funny bone nerve. It was subluxing, dislocating out of place. And I've put it into a different place. So that's that. So what can we take away from this? I still want to make content for you guys. If you're still listening, thank you. Main takeaways. Obviously, we can't change our environment. Supermarkets, modern day world, it's going to be all around us. Knowledge is power. Knowing all this makes me think, right, okay, that's why when I try and reintroduce fruit, my body thinks that a famine is coming, gorge, gain body fat. That's why fruit makes me gain weight. Carbs in general are used for bulking and make you gain weight. Body fat. Healthy if you've got a famine coming up. It's not healthy if you're doing it all year and you're becoming type 2 diabetic. What happens there? You get heart disease, biggest killer of diabetics. We don't want that. So yeah, we're having fruit unevolutionary appropriately all year round. That is the problem. It's healthy in the moment. So what can you do from this? My takeaway from this is what I'm trying to do with my children is teach them that it's not bad, we just wouldn't have it year round. Look, it's on the trees now, so I'm giving an example. And I said to my son, guess how long do you think we'd have that in the year? And he said something like 4 or 5 weeks. And I thought, I'm pretty happy with that, that's good. So what you can do is, so I tell them, all right, when you go on holiday, that's when you can have like the fruit and the carbs. Imagine that's like the end of the autumn harvest. Do that, you come back home and then you're in a ketogenic state. You can try and mimic that evolution. So set yourself little rules like that, and then you've got some sort of plan in place. It's not all over the place and you're not having little binges all the time. We wouldn't have fruit like randomly just on a Friday and stuff like that. Have that little set. That helps me in my brain. Also, you could just be like not even as like strict as that and just think, right, when I'm on holiday, what do most people do? Maybe go on holiday 1 or 2 times a year, do you know, unless you're just this really lucky person that can fly around all the time. But say you do that, you're on vacation, holiday, for that couple of weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, couple of times a year, 1 or 2, just have what you want. Do you know, you can see it as that, just think like, right, well, but the caveat to that is you have to be low carb ketogenic towards a carnivore state to make that work. Do you know, so 9 times out of 10 they'll go on holiday and I don't even care about that. I don't want that because I'm satiated from my normal food, but that doesn't matter. If you still want to like have this sort of off switch sometimes, see it as that. Go on holiday, that's when you have your carbohydrates and that's your little, your little mini bulk, a bit of fluff for the winter. Get back on it. So thank you for listening. That's why I don't like making just quick snippet like, oh, is fruit healthy? No, it's sugar. Do you know? But if you want main takeaways from this, then yeah, it is sugar. It's not evolutionarily appropriate to have it all the time, and we know why. We've delved into the physiology of what happens when all carbohydrates are broken down and what happens in your body with your hormonal system, with your blood glucose regulation, things of that nature. Knowing all that, that's a light bulb moment to me. When I found out all this information, I saw a really good video. I think it was Richard Smith that was interviewing this woman. I can't remember her name, apologies. But this was all explaining the end of the autumn harvest. And I thought, oh my God, that is what carbohydrates are for, because that is literally what happens to me when I introduce them. And now you might have a light bulb moment and think, that is what's happening to me actually. Like if you're having to eat little and often all the time and you feel like you've got low blood sugar and you need carbohydrates and you can't fast, try the carnivore diet.